Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be bringing you another showdown video for Thursday Night Football. This week we got a game between the Packers and the Seahawks. Pretty interesting game. Actually going to be a decent game to watch. So I'll go through the player pool on DraftKings and talk about some of my favorite plays on this showdown slate. We'll talk about roster construction, the ways you want to build a lineup. When it comes to captain, who we should choose at captain, whether we should pay up or maybe go a little bit cheaper so that way we can fit in some more of the expensive players. We'll kind of cover all of it briefly and hopefully get about a 10-15 minute video out there on this showdown slate for you guys. But before we do get started, guys, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video. It really does mean a lot. And if you are new to the channel, then please click that subscribe button down below. Turn on notifications as well. Trigger the bell so that way you won't miss out on any of my new videos. And if you do have any questions, feel free to leave any questions down below. Or if you just have any feedback, anything you want to say about this showdown slate, feel free to leave it down below in the comment section. You can also DM me on Twitter as well. Always active on Twitter if you have questions. My Twitter is @thedfs_goat. But yeah, let's go ahead and look at this showdown slate. So I say we got about 3 studs on this showdown slate. You have both quarterbacks. You got Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and then Davante Adams, another high-priced guy. He is $11,800 if you play him in your flex. So I think we definitely want to pay up for the quarterbacks here. I don't know if we're going to be able to fit both in a lineup, but Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, both guys have shown upside this year. They are expensive. They're the 2 most expensive plays on the showdown slate. Rodgers is $12,800 if you play him in your flex. Russell Wilson's $12,200. If you go to them in captain, Rodgers pretty expensive, $19,200. Russell Wilson, $18,300. I think my preferred option here is Aaron Rodgers. Just feel a little bit safer in Aaron Rodgers. We know the guy's going to give you a crazy high floor. You can pretty much pencil him in for 16, 17 DraftKings points, and he's got that 30-point upside that you want, especially for showdown if you want to take down a tournament. Pretty good chance that winning tournament lineup's going to have Aaron Rodgers in it. So I definitely like him here at $12,800. I was toying around with roster construction earlier, and it is pretty easy to fit Wilson and Rodgers into a lineup together, especially if you go cheap at captain. We'll talk about the cheap captains I like, and we'll talk about roster construction in a second. But I do like Rodgers and Wilson here. Prefer Rodgers, but if I can play both of them, definitely going to try and do that. Then Davante Adams, another guy you can definitely pay up for, especially if Randall Cobb misses again this game. Davante Adams got 7 targets last week. Not a crazy amount of volume, but still scored twice, 4 catches, 57 yards, 2 touchdowns, in a somewhat tough matchup against Xavier Howard and the Dolphins. So Davante Adams, good matchup here against the Seahawks. Not a good secondary. I do like paying up for him. I would prefer the quarterbacks. I feel like the quarterbacks are probably a little bit safer, but definitely if you can go Rodgers and Adams in the lineup, or if you can go Wilson, Adams, pretty much going to be impossible to play all 3 guys in the same lineup unless you just straight up punt at your captain spot. So you're probably going to have to pick 2 of the 3 out of these 11K and above guys. I think I'd rank them Rodgers, Wilson, Adams, kind of like how they are. I do like Adams. Going to be hard to prioritize him though, over the quarterbacks. But now let's look at some other plays. So Aaron Jones, he's pretty expensive at $9K, but he's pretty much solidified himself as the number 1 running back for the Packers. He got 15 carries last week against the Dolphins, got 3 catches as well, so 18 touches for Aaron Jones, 145 yards, 2 touchdowns, just a massive game, 35 DraftKings points. Aaron Jones, like I said, solidified himself as the number 1 back. Pretty much can pencil him in for about 15 to 18 touches. Could see more than that, especially if the Seahawks or if the Packers get ahead and they're running the ball to kill clock. Could see Aaron Jones eclipse 20 touches. I like him at $9K. I think I'd actually take the savings off of Davante Adams. You get $2,800 in savings if you go down from Adams or Jones, and I think that does make sense. I really like Aaron Jones here. Would much rather play him over Tyler Lockett. I know Lockett's cheaper, but Aaron Jones just feels like a much better option there. Between like Tyler Lockett, MVS, and Baldwin, I think if Randall Cobb misses, MVS is my preferred option there. MVS is $7,800. If Cobb misses, he's going to be the number 2 receiver behind Davante Adams. He's going to get the volume. He got 7 targets last week against the Dolphins, 6 catches, 44 yards. If Cobb misses, can pretty much pencil in MVS for about 5 to 6 targets with upside for more, especially if the Packers are throwing a lot. I do like him at $7,800. I'll be pairing him and Rodgers in a ton of lineups, but I'm probably only going to play MVS if Cobb is out. If Randall Cobb is able to play come Thursday, then at $6,800 he could be an option. Don't know if I'd be going there. I'd probably play Doug Baldwin over Randall Cobb. but Randall Cobb plays, that's probably going to get me off at MVS. But right now, I don't feel like Randall Cobb's going to play. It's a short week. He didn't play Sunday. Only 3 days to get ready for this game, or 4 days to get ready for this game. So I'd say it's unlikely Cobb plays, but obviously we'll have to wait till Thursday till we get inactives to come out. But let's look for other plays, maybe some value we could go to. So I think the Seahawks running backs could be value plays depending on who gets the start. So Chris Carson missed on Sunday, and Mike Davis started at running back for the Seahawks, and he got 15 touches. He got 11 carries for 58 yards, and he got 4 catches for 22 yards. Did get a receiving touchdown, had 18 DraftKings points. Rashad Penny also got some work as well. I know he scored last week. He got 12 carries and also got a rushing touchdown, 108 yards and a rushing touchdown, 19.8 DK points from Rashad Penny. Both of those guys had solid games with Chris Carson out. If Chris Carson's out again, I think I'd prefer Mike Davis. If Chris Carson plays, then I think he's probably going to be the number one back, and he is 5K. He makes a lot of sense as a value play. Pretty much just the Seahawks running backs make sense as a value play. If Carson's in, I'll be playing Carson in a lot of lineups at 5K. If Carson's out, I'll be playing Mike Davis in a lot of lineups. Probably going to sprinkle in a little Rashad Penny as well. But definitely like Davis and Carson depending on how the injuries break out. I'd much prefer them over Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham's just been so inconsistent this year. Don't really know what you're going to get from him. Some weeks he'll get 6 to 8 targets. Some weeks he'll only get 2 to 4 targets. You just don't really know with Jimmy Graham. It is a good matchup against the Seahawks. It is a revenge game, so take that for what it's worth. But 5,600, I think I'd feel a lot safer going to either Carson or Davis for cheaper. Then looking like straight up punt plays, the value guys we could go to. Anytime a guy's going to be on the field in a showdown slate, I think he makes sense. David Moore is going to be on the field. Don't know how many targets he's going to get, but he is 4K. He's seen 3, 4, 7, and 3 targets the last 4 weeks. He's going to get a couple targets. If he gets into the end zone, he'll be a good play at 4K. So you could go there. Obviously, you have the kickers, who I think are always good options if you just need value. Wouldn't go too heavy on kickers in tournaments. For cash games, they make a ton of sense. And then you got the defenses. If I'm going to play a defense in this game, I think it's definitely going to be the Packers defense. I don't think I want to play the Seahawks defense against Aaron Rodgers. I'd much rather play the Packers against Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has been getting sacked a lot this year. At 2,600, I could see going to the Packers D as a value play. And also, I don't know how to say his name, but I think it's Equanimeous St. Brown, something like that, Equanimous or whatever. He should be the number 3 receiver. If Randall Cobb is out, Devontae Adams will be the number 1, then MVS, then St. Brown will be the number 3 receiver. That's only if Cobb is out, though. If Cobb plays, then St. Brown is not a good option. But if Cobb is out, if you're just looking for a punt play, hoping St. Brown gets into the end zone, I could see going there at 2,400, only if Cobb is out. And then you got the tight ends from the Seahawks you could go to. Nick Vanette's actually been somewhat reliable. He's seen some okay targets, not great targets, but last 4 weeks, 4, 3, 8, and 2 targets. Did get into the end zone last week against the Rams, or on Sunday against the Rams. Has scored twice. Did score week 9 against the Chargers. I don't think the volume's really going to be there for Nett. I can't project him for like more than 4 targets, but if he gets into the end zone at 1,800, he could be a really good value, and if you play him, that could allow you to pay up for the studs that you want. I could see going to Nick Vannett as just a punt play at 1,800. He probably would be my favorite value if you're just trying to punt this position. Jerron Brown, I know he scored a couple so far this year, a couple touchdowns. He didn't get any targets last week, but he did score week 9. Jerron Brown's just kind of a guy you play, just praying he scores, just praying he finds the end zone, but really nothing more than that. I think all these cheap plays are probably just guys we're going to be avoiding. Don't really see a ton of guys I want to go too heavy on. Nick Vannett would probably be my favorite, just straight up value at 1,800. But now, let's sort of talk about roster construction. Let's see what kind of lineups we can build. So we'll start off with going expensive at captain and seeing what that allows us to do. So if we play Aaron Rodgers in our captain, that's going to put us at 6,160 remaining per player. So usually once I pay up a captain, I like to go straight to the value and see what I can get. So I mentioned the Seattle running backs. I think they're my favorite values. I'm just going to say that Chris Carson plays. If he plays and starts and is the number 1 back, I'll be plugging him in a lot of lineups at 5K. I mentioned you could go to St. Brown if Cobb's out. You could go to Vannett, so we'll plug one of those guys in. We'll go with Vannett at 1,800. That gets us back up to 8K, so then we can try and spend some salary. We've already got Rodgers. I'd say we go with another quarterback. Let's see if we can get Russell Wilson in here as well. Could play Russell Wilson. That leaves us 5,900. Then you could go to either Doug Baldwin if you wanted to pair Wilson with the receiver. We do have two guys from the Seahawks. We do have Carson and Vanette. So let's go with the Packers receiver. Take into account that Cobb misses. Let's play MVS at 7,800. And then that would leave us 4K. You could take a shot on David Moore at 4K. You could go to the kickers at 34 or 3,200. If we just plugged in David Moore, that looks like a pretty solid lineup. You've got Rodgers at captain, who obviously has a ton of upside. You got Chris Carson, who I think is going to be a good play if he's able to go. Van Nett, who could score a touchdown. Russell Wilson obviously is a good play if you can find the salary. MVS, going to be a really good option if Cobb misses. And then David Moore, probably going to get you a couple targets, 4 or 5 targets. I could see go David Moore's way. So at 4K, he could be a value. But now let's just see what we can do if we go cheap at captain. This is what I like to do a lot in Showdown. Just try and go for a cheap captain and really jam in the studs. So I think Chris Carson might be my favorite cheap captain if he's able to go. If he's not, then Mike Davis is an easy replacement at the same price tag. But assuming Carson plays, I like him as a cheap captain. That will definitely allow you to pay up for Rodgers and Wilson if you want to do that. Then you could go to the value. You could go down to either St. Brown if you want to go there. You could go to Vanette. If we went down to Vanette as a cheap play, that'd give us back up to 7,850. Then we could play MVS. Be just short of Tyler Lockett, but you could play Doug Baldwin at 7,200. Leave some salary on the table if you want to. Maybe we could upgrade from Vanette. You could upgrade from Vanette and go to St. Brown at 2,400 if you felt better with that play. Couldn't get the Packers defense, but you could get to St. Brown. Really like that lineup, though. You got a lot of upside with both quarterbacks. You got MVS, who's shown upside this year. Doug Baldwin, who still has some decent upside. Definitely like going cheap at captain on this Showdown slate with Chris Carson or Mike Davis, whichever one's going to start. It just allows you to do so much. It allows you to fit in the expensive guys, whether you want to go Rodgers Wilson, if you want to go Rodgers Devontae Adams. Let's just see if we went Rodgers Devontae Adams and then maybe got off of Wilson. But we want to definitely still want to get some Seattle plays in there. You could go to maybe Doug Baldwin 7,200. You could probably go to one of the kickers if you felt like doing that. You could go one of the defenses. Since we didn't maybe play Russell Wilson, if you think Russell Wilson has a rough day, you could go to the Packers D at 2,600 in this lineup. That'd leave you 8,100. Then you could get up to Tyler Lockett if you felt like doing that. I could see doing that in a tournament, especially if you think Russell Wilson maybe struggles in this game. You still got exposure to Seattle, but you're not going too heavy on them. If you wanted to, you could take out Lockett and you could replace him with MVS if you felt safer about MVS. I kind of like that lineup as well. Just really like going with Chris Carson at captain if he plays. If he doesn't, Mike Davis, easy replacement. Just with how cheap those two guys are, it allows you to do so much at the other positions. Don't feel like I'm going to be paying up for Rodgers or Wilson or Adams in a ton of lineups just because they're so expensive. Really thins you out in your flex spots and you're just not able to pay up for any other spots. But yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it for the Showdown slate. My quick analysis for this Showdown slate. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, just make sure you click that like button. I would really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe down below if you haven't already. Also, be sure you turn on notifications, trigger the bell, so that way you won't miss out on any of my new videos. Like I said, if you have questions, feel free to hit me up down in the comment section below or on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT. Always replying to your questions, always answering comments if you have any. But yeah, guys, good luck on this Showdown slate, and we'll see you back again in my next video. Peace.